Hey YouTube, what's up? It's your boy Sean, a senior from Sean's Rabbit Train Aquaponic Produce, and we back with another rabbit farming video for you guys. Now, a question I get asked a lot is, what breed of rabbit is this? People are always sending me photos of their rabbit and asking me to help them identify the breed. So that's something we're going to touch a bit on today. If you're interested, stay tuned. We'll be back with more right after this. Okay, we're back. Now firstly, if we're talking about breeds, there are approximately 50 recognized breeds of rabbits, and they are governed by genetics to some extent, and as well as breed standards. So if your rabbit doesn't fit specifically into one of these groups or boxes, as they say, then more than likely what you have is a mix of two or more breeds or something like that. Okay, but before we go down the rabbit hole, so to speak, of breed identification, you need to understand a bit about genetics. Now, genetics is a very diverse and complex topic, so we're not going to go too deeply into it today. We're just going to touch the surface of it and discuss two of the terms that you need to understand whenever you're thinking about breed identification. So we're talking about genotype and phenotype. Now I'm gonna put those words up here so that you know the spelling, so I don't want you to get them confused. People always tend to try to mix these two terms. I mean, they're related, but they're not the same. Okay, and you can tell that not necessarily the term itself, but the way in which they try to describe and identify their rabbit, you can tell a lot of the time that they're confusing phenotype and genotype. Okay, it's kind of like that one cousin you have that really resembles you, so everyone thinks they're either your brother or your sister, but they're not. You know, you're related, but you're not the same, right? So it's something like that with genotype and phenotype. So let's delve a little deeper into that and see where it takes us. Okay, so let's see if we can create some separation. First, let's look at genotype. Now, if you delve too deep into genetics, like I said, you're going to get confused. So we're not going there today, right? If you look deeply at genotype, they're going to start to talk things like chromosomes and genes and alleles and loci and things like that. And you're going to get confused and bored really quickly. So we're not dealing with that today. We're just looking at the basics of it. Basically, the genotype is the specific genetic makeup of any particular animal. Now, genotype can vary from animal to animal, even from animals that bear the same parents. Because even though you're getting half of your genetics from your mom and half from your dad, each offspring isn't necessarily getting the same combination of those genetics. That's why we have brothers and sisters. We all tend to resemble somewhat, but we don't look exactly the same. Because even though we're getting our genetics from the two same parents, there are different combinations of those genetics that can occur, and it will display differently in physical form. However, in the case of rabbits, genetically pure rabbits will only produce genetically pure offspring. So their genotype can influence the way that they look. For example, if you have two purebred New Zealand whites and you breed them, all of the offspring are going to be purebred New Zealand whites. New Zealand whites are generally completely white with pink eyes. All of the offspring are going to look pure white with pink eyes. So their genetic makeup or their genotype can influence the way that they look. So if for some reason you have two New Zealand white rabbits that you think are pure, and when you breed them, one or two of the offspring are a different color. You get a gray or a black or some variation. Then you know with certainty that one or both of those parents are not purebred New Zealand whites. So again, it brings us back to the point: if you're purchasing rabbits, purchase from a reputable breeder and ensure that that person keeps proper breeding records, right? Because that's the only way you're going to be able to know what you're starting off with. Now I know somebody is going to come in the comment section and say that, oh, it's so easy for someone to fake a pedigree and things like that. Yeah, right, sure, but we're not dealing with that. Like I said, reputable breeder, because I know from personal experience and other breeders that I've spoken to, no one is going to risk their reputation to fake a pedigree for one rabbit. It's just silly. Okay, if you're a commercial breeder and you have 400 rabbits to choose from to sell persons, why would you waste time on any one rabbit that you're not sure about? It just doesn't make good sense. So that point to me is a bit moot, because that only happens in cases where you're dealing with persons who aren't reputable breeders and persons who don't keep proper records. No one that I know who's a reputable breeder is going to risk their reputation on something as silly as faking a pedigree. Okay, it just doesn't make sense. We have too many options to choose from. Right, so enough said about that. Okay, now let's talk about the phenotype. The phenotype of a rabbit is its observable features, what you can see, what the animal looks like. Now, as I explained earlier, genotype can influence the phenotype of a rabbit. However, genotype doesn't always equal phenotype. Now, what do I mean by that? Okay, right. Now, when I say that genotype doesn't equal phenotype, what I mean is that apart from just genetics, the phenotype of a rabbit or the way a rabbit looks can be influenced by other factors like the environment or lifestyle, like its diet and things like that. Now, a good example is the Californian rabbit. Now, if you breed two pure Californians, you're going to get only purebred Californian kits. Now, Californians are generally white with some dark markings on the nose, the ears, and things like that. However, what we've noticed here, especially in the tropics, is that most of our Californians, when the temperature gets really hot, the markings tend to fade a bit. So, if you're going solely on the phenotype or the way the animal looks, you may have doubts about the quality of the animal in terms of whether it's a pure Californian or not. But that can be backed up by its genetic record, its genotype, which shows that all of its parents, grandparents, great-grandparents were also pure Californians. So hence, it would be a pure Californian, despite the fact that the colors can fade. This is why you really need to get your rabbits from persons who keep proper records. Now, I brought this rabbit here. Actually, my humble assistant Carla brought this rabbit for me, but she's a bit camera shy. Right? Brought this rabbit here to prove a point. Now, this rabbit appears, if you look at the phenotype of this animal, most people will say this is a Californian, but it's not. This is a hybrid. Her sire was a Californian, and her dam is actually a brown rabbit, a mixed breed rabbit that we have just as a foster mom that we teach. Okay, and she was one of the offspring, but she took her phenotype from the dad, so she looks just like a Californian. But there's no way that I can promote or sell this rabbit as a pure Californian because she's not. So if you were to buy this rabbit, somewhere along the line you're going to get some colored offspring, and then you're going to say Sean is a scam. Okay, but that's not going to happen because we keep proper records. Another example of phenotype would be in the case of one of our national birds, the scarlet ibis. Okay, let's take a moment to pay homage. Right? Now, for those of you in North America, a perfect example would be the flamingo. In Trinidad, if you have seen scarlet ibises in the wild, as compared to those that are kept in captivity, their color tends to be very different. Those kept in captivity, a lot of the times they have a slight whitish pink color to them. They don't have that vibrant scarlet red like those kept in the wild. And that is because their scarlet color is influenced by their diet, the things that they eat. And that is what makes them be so brightly red. Now, if they're not getting the same diet when they're kept in captivity, their color tends to fade a bit. It doesn't mean that they're not still pure scarlet ibis birds. It's just that their phenotype can be influenced by their diet. So this is why we say that genotype can influence phenotype, but it doesn't equal phenotype because that can be influenced by external factors. Right? I hope you all understand that. Right, come here. Okay, so to answer your question, guys, I'm gonna have to say no. Okay, it would be a mistake to try and identify the breed of a rabbit based solely on its phenotype. You're going to need some breed records. Sadly though, we see that a lot here in Trinidad. I don't know about other parts of the world, but I see it a lot here where persons are constantly identifying their rabbit as this or that breed based solely on the phenotype of the animal. Because let's say, for instance, a New Zealand black would genotypically and phenotypically be a black rabbit. It doesn't, however, mean that every black rabbit is a New Zealand black, unless of course you know the genotype of that specific black rabbit. So if you don't, then it's safe to just say it's a mixed rabbit. Even though it may be pure, you don't know, you don't have records, you can't offer it as such. So you're gonna have to take the safe route and say it's mixed. Like for instance, any rabbit that I am not 100% certain about isn't kept or sold as a breeder whatsoever. Let me give you an example. We have a community cage in the back there where we wean kits. So sometimes when we wean, there are probably 12, 15 kits in any one cage to grow out. Now, there were this particular set of rabbits. Some were New Zealand whites, some were Californians. And I was going to choose from them to keep as breeders. It so happened at the point in time, we were a bit short on space, so I didn't have individual cages for each of them at the time. So I left them in that community cage a little longer than I should have. When I eventually separated them and I was getting ready to start breeding, one of the does felt a bit heavy to me, so I decided to palpate her. When I did, I realized she was pregnant, and from my estimation, I thought that she could be just about 3 weeks pregnant. Yeah, I'm that good. Okay, I turned out I wasn't too far off. Right, I gave her a few days. I put in the nest box, and lo and behold, a couple days later, she did indeed kindle a nice litter of 7. However, within a couple days, as they started to get their full, you could see the black markings on their tips that would usually be associated with Californians. So I know that one of the Californian bucks in that community cage would have gotten to her. So obviously, and there's no way to tell who the sire was because there were a few bucks well in that cage. So that entire litter was called for meat. There's no way I'm going to sell those. I'm not even going to sell them as mixed because even though they're mixed, I can't be able to tell you who the sire and the dam is. And in a case like that, I couldn't. So we just decided to call the entire litter for me. So I'm going to say 98% of the time I'm going to say no, you can't identify them by looking at them. I'd normally say 100, but I'm going to leave 2% for the persons who are reputable breeders who keep proper records. So you know that you only have New Zealand whites, so all the kids are obviously New Zealand whites, you could tell by looking at them. But other than that, I'm gonna have to say no, guys. So with that said, I hope that this information was useful. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit the like button. Definitely share this video with someone so that they too can come on board and join the fun. I mean, help us. We're on that road to 5,000 subscribers. So share, like, subscribe. It's your first time dropping through with us. Definitely hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to hit the bell to turn on notifications whenever we upload new videos. So guys, thanks again for watching. Stay tuned for more. We have a lot of good stuff coming in the next few weeks, so definitely stay tuned. Sean Austin from Sean's Rabbit Aquaponic Produce on behalf of my business partner Sean McLean. Peace.